Hello everybody and welcome to my presentation. This presentation is geared towards new players for the World of Tanks update coming out September 3rd, 2025. I have played approximately 9,000 battles. I have a couple of tier 10s, a bunch of tier 8s, a bunch of tier 9s, and I feel like I'm qualified to let new players know what's good and what's not in the game. What's competitive, what's fun, and what's just part of the grind. If you want to know how to best work on your gameplay or maximize your builds or set up your spotting and learn how concealment works, go watch Quickie Baby, go watch Ayuksen. There's plenty of streamers out there that know way more about that than I do. However, the thing that I have that I believe they may not have time for, as they explain the more intricate parts of the game, is new players. This update is specifically designed by Wargaming to bring in new players to the game, and I think that's great. So, without further ado, the first thing we're going to talk about, actually the only thing we're going to talk about in this presentation, is what tech tree do I need to grind? So I've taken the liberty, this is a screenshot of the American tech tree as of September 1st, 2025. And the way it sort of works is you have tier 1 all the way over here, and you have tier 10 all the way over here. And what I have done is, starting at tier 5, every single tank, except for artillery, we're not going to talk about artillery, I have put the win difference ratio from Tomato GG. So there's a website that tracks statistics throughout the game, through all the players and different servers. And what this number here represents is how much of a win rate difference does that tank make for the player. So it's not taking into account how good the player is, it's taking into account how much better that tank makes the player. So something I want you to notice is if you come all the way to tier 10, almost none of them have positive win ratios. A 2% win ratio for the T95 is massive. An almost 3% win ratio for the M6 is very large as well. So there is no magic bullet. As you progress in the game, it's only going to get harder because players are going to know more about the game. They're going to be spending more credits and gold on premium consumables and gold ammo, which increases your penetration value. So don't think that just because you're going to a higher tier, you're going to have more fun. As a matter of fact, it's probably more competitive at the higher tiers, which is why you see these numbers go down, because it's less about the vehicle and more about the player. Now, as a newbie, you are looking for what, like I personally want you to enjoy the game. So I want to point you to the best tech tree lines to grind, so that you're not just, you don't pick a stinker and you end up quitting the game. So for the Americans, the American heavy tank line, the original heavy tank line, because there's two. After the T1 heavy, you can go to the Packlaw or you can go to the M6. The M6, T29, T34, M103, and T125 is the original American heavy tank tree. This new tech tree came in, I don't know when it came in, but it's relatively new. So the American heavy tanks are pretty good. The T1 heavy, as you can see, a massive 2% win rate increase for drivers of that tank. And the M6 is 2.86. That is incredible. And then the T29 is probably the crown jewel of the American tech tree almost. There is one exception. You could probably stop at tier 7. If you're just a casual player and you're not looking to be super competitive, after tier 7, the game starts to get pretty hard. It starts to get, let's just say, I want you to be committed before you go into that, like into the deep end of the game. Now, the T95, this tech tree, it's not bad. Like you can see, these numbers are not great. But this 2.9% at tier 9 is enormous. So if you're willing to, spend some time on the game and learn how it works, the T95 is eventually going to be worth it. But this line right here is golden. So moving on to Germany. The Germans have a very large tech tree, and as you can see, a lot of just kind of meh stuff going on here. These stars indicate that there is a tier 11 coming, which is part of the massive 2.0 update that Wargaming are releasing. So keep that in mind if you know that you're going to spend time playing the game and you know that you want a tier 11. This video is maybe not for you. So the all the way up to tier 7, the original German heavy tank tree is also pretty good. There's a reason for this. They know that the American heavies and the German heavies, specifically this guy right here, the Tiger 1, is what's going to draw new players to the game. So, because everybody wants to drive the Tiger 1. That's the tank that the Germans had that was so good. And they're going to constantly be buffing this tech line and the American heavy tanks. So as the game gets older, tanks get older, new ones get introduced, and to make the game make new content interesting, they have to make the new tanks that go in more powerful. And as the older tanks get older, this concept of power creep comes into play. Well, with these original tech trees that draw new players, this guy right here, they know that, and they want to keep that tech tree relevant. So you can count on this tech tree pretty much all the way up to tier 9 to be over the years constantly buffed. So you're not going to be wasting your time going through this tech tree. Also, the other German heavy tank tree, which branches off into a third tech tree, is not bad either. This guy is an exception. This is massive. I've actually never played this particular tank, but 3.62 I think might be the highest number in my analysis. So American heavies, German heavies. Let's keep going. So this brings us to Russia. Now Russia has probably the most fleshed out tech tree. Not all tech trees look like this. But the Russian heavies are in the same sort of camp as the German heavies and the American heavies. They bring players to the game. Everybody knows about the IS. Well, maybe not everybody, but there are some real winners here. So the KV-2 is enormous fun because it has a massive gun. It's 152 millimeter. It's the biggest gun tier for tier, I think. Once you see 0.9 or above, you start getting a special tank. So this, these smaller numbers, there's something special going on with the SU-100. I haven't played that. This is a snapshot of my tech tree. So I have the KV-3, I have the MT-25. I don't have this one. I've never played it. But this, once you start getting into the 0.9 plus percentage, there's something special about that tank. So feel free at any time to pause this video and maybe look into these for yourself. But the Russian mediums are very good. This guy up here, as a new player, again, I would say don't plan on going past tier 7. Branch off into another tech tree and explore different mechanics of the game. But you can't go wrong with Russian heavies. Russian mediums are also pretty good. Let's keep going. So UK. I have not done much with the UK. However, I can say that the United Kingdom tank destroyer line is amazing. So you saw in the American tech tree that the T95, the tier 9, was like a 2% win increaser. The AT2 is probably one of the most heavily armored tanks in the game at tier 5, and that's why you see this enormous 3.22% win booster. And then it gets, it continues, which is very unusual, to the AT8 and the AT7. You take a dip at the AT15 because you have a lot of people loading gold. You meet tier 10s, but the Tortoise bumps back up to 1.5. So if you're looking for a tank destroyer line that's beginner friendly, the UK tank destroyer line is really good. Additionally, the wheeled mediums can be really fun. I would actually recommend that you go for the French wheeled mediums rather than the British wheeled mediums. When I say wheeled mediums, they actually they have tires. Like if you look here, it has wheels instead of tracks. The British heavy tank tree is also not too bad. They got smaller guns. The guns shoot a lot faster, but they don't do as much damage as the Russian, American, and German heavy tank line. That's just more of a preference. The armor on these things is actually really good. So that's worth checking out. I wouldn't really go past tier 8 for the British heavies, just because I've never had a problem penetrating this thing on the battlefield. Although the Super Conqueror is pretty good. I will point out that at tier 10, it's really bad. Like these 0.35 almost is not great. But like I said before earlier, that's just the way it goes. Okay, France. So the French light tanks is where you want to be. The French artillery is nothing special, but the tier 10 has an autoloader, so a 3-round magazine of shells. It's the only artillery in the game that has an autoloader. So while I can't really recommend doing a whole lot of artillery, this guy is a jewel in the game. It's not seen very much. But as far as the light tanks go, these are the wheeled light tanks down here. They are some of the fastest tanks in the entire game. You can go 90 miles an hour or 90 kilometers an hour, which on average your heavy tank is going like 40 at best. These are very small. They're very hard to hit. Very good. All the way up to tier 7, the French heavies are also pretty good as well. So the thing I wanted to instill is if you're looking to go to tier 10, the AMX 13105 is very competitive. The Batchat 25T is getting a tier 11, but if you're like me and you don't really want to mess around with tier 10 or tier 11, yeah, this is your guy. Moving on to Czechoslovakia, the tech trees are getting smaller, as you can see. This guy right here, the T25, I had so much fun with this thing. It's quite fast. It doesn't really have that great of armor. It has great view range, and it has a 3-round magazine. If you get good at this, I think I have 61% wins in this thing. Very good. The tier 7 heavy is also pretty good, 0.96. It's starting to get up into the special area. But after that, it's just trash. And then this, it's awful. This thing is terrible. This thing is not so great either. But the Skoda T50 and the Skoda T50/51, these have autoloaders. So the heavies have 2-round autoloader, 2-round autoloader, 2-round autoloader, single shot, 3-round, 4-round. Or maybe it's just 3 on both. Maybe it's 4 on both. I can't remember. But if you like playing this guy and you only want to go to tier 7, go here. The light tank has a 5-round autoloader, which is the most akin to this playstyle. But if you wanted to go higher in the tech tree, you'll have to get through this thing, which is not great, to get to the tier 9 and the tier 10, which plays like the T25. So if you like the T25, you can go to tier 7 and stay there, or you can grind through and get the 9 and 10. Okay, Japan. So Japan, the only interesting thing as far as I know that's super cool is their super heavy line, which is not super competitive towards the higher end, but it's really fun down at the down here. And then the tank destroyers are very competitive at the top. This thing, the Cheeto SP at tier 7, is one of the best tank destroyers in the game behind the British tank destroyers. In China, the Chinese heavies have a very interesting, this Chinese tech tree, the BZ line, they have rockets attached to their tanks. So if you press a button, you get a timed boost to your speed, and it helps you get around the battlefield. You have a limited number of those. It's just an interesting mechanic. I've heard really good things about the Chinese tank destroyer line. Negative 0.79 is one of the better win difference for a tier 10 that I've seen. So Chinese heavies have rockets, and the tank destroyer line's pretty good. The Polish line is, I don't really know much about it, except for the fact that the tank destroyers are very interesting. At the tier 10, the Błyskawice, I'm not even going to try to say that again. The alpha damage is 800, but only at a distance of 50 meters. So you got to be real close. And as you get further away, it drops down to like 300 at max range. And it has great armor. So I think that I'm not quite sure where that mechanic kicks in. It's definitely on the tier 8. I'm not sure about the tier 7. But that's an interesting mechanic if you like to be up in your opponent's face and you want to blast them. The CS-63 is actually a very interesting tank because it has a massive speed boost. Like there's a mode that you can change into, and it will increase your speed and maneuverability, but it will decrease your gun handling. You can't hit anything in that mode, but you're going super fast. So it allows you to get into position quickly, change back into your gun mode, and then you can fight, and then change back into your mobility mode if you need to go somewhere else. So interesting mechanic. I'm not sure if it plays out in these guys. It's worth looking into. Okay, Sweden. The only thing really cool about Sweden, well, that's not true. The U.S.S.R, the whole line of U.S.S.R medium tanks is very competitive. The heavy tank line are the gods of ridge lines. So if you're on a ridge line and you can hide the chassis of your tank behind the hill and you just stick your turret out, these things have really good gun depression. They have really good turret armor, and it's angled very well. So if you put the heavy tanks on a ridge line, they are very hard to dig out. Medium tanks are very quick. They're very sneaky. They've got great DPM and penetration. The thing that's really special about the Swedish line is their tank destroyers, starting at tier 8, 9, and 10. They have a special mode. They actually don't have, like, the gun doesn't wiggle. The way you aim the gun is by aiming the tank, and they have, like, a hydraulic system that allows them to basically stay in one place and act like a gun or sniper, and then you go back into your movement mode, and it's really hard to shoot people in your movement mode, but very interesting mechanic. Okay, Italy. So, Minotauro, the tier 10 Minotauro, is the most competitive tank destroyer in the game at the moment. And as you can see, the grind to get there is really not terrible until the tier 8. You kind of have to suffer through that one, but once you get through it and get to the Minotauro, this is actually the best win ratio difference in the game. For a tier 10, that is. The heavy tanks have a really, really bad damage per minute. They have an interesting mechanic, like a auto-loading mechanic, where if you sit there and it'll load a shell after shell after shell instead of a clip, like in your French autoloaders. But it's just the damage per minute's not there. Medium tanks are interesting. Standard B is very strong. This isn't really my playstyle. But if you're looking for a competitive tank destroyer that has a ton of frontal armor, like the United Kingdom tank destroyers, but these have semi-turrets. They can go 45 degrees to the right and 45 degrees to the left. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility than the British tank destroyers, which is just a gun, and the gun goes side to side like 5 or so degrees, maybe 10 degrees. Okay, so if you're looking at the statistics, the most competitive tier 10 tanks are the U.S.S.R and the Panzerkampfwagen 7. So that's a Russian heavy tank line, and that's a German heavy tank line. If you have the commitment to go all the way to tier 10, those are the two that you want, at least to begin with. Now, if you're just looking to have fun and fart around at tier 7, I recommend the T-29, the Tiger 1, the Tiger P, KV-3, Black Prince, the Chopper, which is the double-barrel British line, the AMX M445, the VZ44-1, the 45 TP, the IS-2 from China, Oni, and the BZ-59. If you're looking, so for medium tanks, the UDES 1516, the Object 430U, this is a Swedish medium tank, and this is a Russian medium tank. And again, if you're just looking to fart around at around tier 7, A44, T34-1, CS44, VK3002D, this thing, and the T20. These are all very competitive. Well, not so much. Well, yeah, they are competitive, but they're also really fun. Light tanks, as far as competitiveness goes, now this analysis is not based on my personal opinion, except for what I said. It's mostly, like, these tanks made the list because of the statistics that they provide. So the Manticore has the best win ratio difference of any light tank, and the T100 LT is behind it. So this is the British light tank, and this is the Russian light tank. And if you're just looking to have fun at Tier 7, the EBR Hotchkiss of France, the LTG of Russia, and the AMX 1375 are your most competitive Tier 7 light tanks. Tank destroyers, Tier 10. We already talked about the Minotauro. The T110E3 is the Tier 10 counterpart to the T95. The T95, which has the highest win ratio difference of any Tier 9 tank in the game. The T110E3 comes after that. Very heavily armored. Has a very deceitful weak point at the top. It looks like it's a weak point. It's a machine gun port on the top of the T110E3. It is very tough to get through. If you're looking to just have fun at Tier 7, the AT7 of the UK is very competitive. SMC-V CC57, which is one of the predecessors to the Minotauro. The Challenger, the Cheeto SP, the T25-2, and the SU100 M1 are all very good. All right, so you're talking to me and you're saying, William, just pick one. I don't need all this stuff. Just pick one for me. And I have two recommendations. First is the American heavy tanks leading to the T110E5. They have great turret armor. They're not terribly slow. They've got good guns with great depression and damage per minute. If you're looking for something to be a little bit more in the face of your opponents, the Russian heavy tanks leading to the IS-7 are an excellent choice. They have big guns that do a lot of heavy damage, slower reload, but they get the damage out. They're heavy and they're fast, which are great for ramming people, which is why they are battlefield bullies. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found something useful. Leave a comment, drop a like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.